Welcome to Higher Expertise. I'm Israel Dennis. Today I'm here with Vic Patel.
Hey, good to be here, and happy Friday to you, Israel.
Happy Friday to you as well.
Javier,
Same here, yeah. Happy to be back as always.
We got the team today, so we're gonna have a great conversation with you. We're gonna be talking about Infor BI and what are the process to get reports developed when you're looking at Cloud Suite Financials or any of the other tools. So
a really interesting topic too. Yeah.
Definitely a great topic. We've done a number of reports for clients, so we want to share how our process is in getting these reports built. So Vic, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, step one is the project scope and discovery phase. Basically, this is the beginning where we're gathering specific needs and information so that we can make reports, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we always want to know. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No problem.
Yeah, we like knowing, or we need to know what kind of reports we're talking about, so we can have an idea of the complexity of the reports, what kind of format, so to have an idea of how difficult it can be for those who
yeah, definitely.
Right. And so whether we're talking about financial reports, HR reports, supply chain reports, a lot of times what we find is that your Cloud Suite applications don't have the reports that you're looking for. Maybe you want some custom reports, right? Maybe you're looking for a trend report, income statement, a number of things. So we help you develop these reports, and we have a process on how we do it. On the project scope is basically gathering information that tell us the reports or the complexity or the customizations that you're looking for.
So priorities, basically, what's important to them. They got the client essentially has to have that straight away, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and the report details, like how the users are gonna access to the reports and things like this.
Yeah.
Right. And I think another thing that we want to talk about in project scope is security, right? One of the things we analyze is who's going to have access to these reports. If they're financial reports, we don't want the HR department to see these reports. If they're supply chain reports, maybe everyone can see them, right? And so on the discovery phase of that first step, we analyze those kinds of things, and then we put together a report specification, and then we jump right into the second phase, which is going to be kind of like your estimate.
Yeah, quotes and estimates is the second phase. Basically, what's going to impact this is the complexity of what you're trying to accomplish, and of course the time that it's going to take.
Right.
Yeah, because depending on the time and the complexity, then we are able to give an estimate because, of course, clients always want to know. Based on their budget, like how much it's gonna might cost.
How much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take.
And that's where I guess customization comes into play. How customized they want it, that's going to stretch out the time and so forth.
Right. If your reports are very customized, it's obviously going to take a long time. If it's something where you just want a field change, maybe you want to give that report to a different user, that may be something fairly simple to do. And so that's going to be part of the second phase of the code and estimate phase of getting you the reports that you want.
What about development and programming the reports?
That's going to be your third phase, and that's when we give the reports to our developers. They take the report specification, they go out and they build these reports, and then basically analyze kind of the requirements that were developed on the discovery phase and put together the report for the users to test.
Can there be any changes during this time? For example, if the client decides, hey, we need this, so forth?
Yeah, we could have some scope changes. We can also have a new report. Maybe they didn't think about that report when they were putting together the scope, and now we add it into the third phase, the development phase, and we build those reports in.
I think also the environment is also very important. We need to decide if we want to do a test environment or if we're gonna do it in production. We shouldn't, because of the impact it can have. This customization can have for the client.
Yeah, correct. One of the things I want to mention about that is sometimes we have clients where they say we want to test with the reports with real data, so we build the reports on test and dev and then migrate them to production just so that they can test these reports on production, which actually brings us to the fourth step, which is testing these reports. How do they test these reports? What kind of data do they look at? If we're talking about financial data, do we look at an income statement? Do we analyze the last year, the year before? Let's talk a little bit about that kind of stuff on testing the reports. We build the report on test dev environment. When we ran the reports, we give these reports to the client.
Yeah, we give the report to the clients, and then they test it. They compare with the real prod environment, and then they come back with any discrepancies that they might have.
So they're going to compare it with like previous reports, maybe the previous year's reports, or a different application that uses the same type of reports, and see if this is what they want, right?
Correct. So they generally analyze it with another report that they have. Maybe it comes from a different application, and there's 2 or 3 reports that they can compare it to. Sometimes what we also find is when they're testing these reports, they may have different requirements for filtering, right? Maybe when we started out the report, they wanted to filter by year, but now they want an accounting unit, or maybe they want a different company. And so these things come up during that phase.
And also the specific customizations, like the lines in between users or things like this, they might realize that they didn't want 2 lines, they only want 1 line, and then that's also
so
part
this is
of
where if there's something aesthetically that you want to change, if there's something that you don't like the way it looks, you want to change
it's like
that.
the feel of it, like the feel of the.
So this is basically where you kind of are going to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it could be as simple as a font change. Maybe they want something else showing up. So it could be any number of things that come up, on the testing part. This is where we would pick that up.
So that's the test drive, basically, right?
Yeah. This is where they would analyze the data, compare the aesthetics of the report, make sure that security is working. So a number of things that we would test.
Who would be the person? Who would be like looking at it as far as testing is concerned, in the client side?
Usually they'll have a test group, right? So they'll define your test group. I want these 4 or 5 users to test these reports. Yeah. They'll give one report to Mary, another one to Joe, and then these guys do the testing of those reports. Sometimes they'll give them to the actual users that are using these reports ahead of time, and then they can verify and validate these reports.
Yeah, so I think different departments.
Yeah, it depends on the type of reports and the department. So usually one user from that department is going to test it and come back with the results.
Right. And can you give an idea, like how long does the process take to test everything out till you can actually push it out to?
Right. I think it's going to be based on the complexity of the report.
Maybe the size of the company, things like that. Yeah.
Right. Maybe if there's 1 or 2 reports, maybe a day, a couple hours. But if there's 100 reports, that could be a couple weeks.
Couple weeks. Okay.
Just depending on the complexity and the amount of reports.
Yeah, and definitely after this, that's not the last step. Even when everything looks good, we still have to deploy it to production, and then we might encounter another discrepancies there. So what can you tell us about that?
So what we find is sometimes even when we have the reports built on dev, they ran the validation, everything's checked out. They're doing the assessment of these reports. We move them to production, right? We're ready to deploy them to production. We move them there. We'll find 1 or 2 discrepancies, a couple of discrepancies that we'll have to go back and fix. And sometimes even after we get more data, right? Because with test and dev, we have a subset of that data, so we don't have the full data. When we bring them into production, then you get, maybe you have to tweak things a little bit, based on the amount of data that we have.
Right.
And so that's when we jump into step 5, which is deploying your actual reports into your production environment from a test and development environment.
Now, question about deployment does that mean that it's going out to everyone at that point, or is it just you're picking certain areas that get it?
It could be, full deployment to everyone, or it could be a phased approach where you have, let's say we roll out your HR reports to HR first. They validated.
Everything's good, then on to finance. Finance is good, supply chain.
Correct. Yep. And we have, maybe even within those departments, they'll have subsets of users. Your power users get your power reports first.
Right.
Your users that have the regular reports all the time get those last,
Gotcha.
So even within the departments, you have a phased rollout approach as well. And then that's where we look, we make sure that everything from the security side.
Is this the part where you all keep your fingers crossed?
We keep our fingers crossed and hope everything works.
Security is very important on this because you don't want everybody to see, there's confidential information, of
Sure.
course, obviously in every company, and you want to make sure that the right people is looking at this information.
Gotcha.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, it's important that we have a good process in place to getting these reports built, making sure that the client understands what our process is, and helping them walk through that process is important for them to engage us, to helping them build the reports.
Right. And I guess that's where experience comes in. With these 5 steps, if you've done it, it's kind of repetitive. I'm going to assume it's like anything else. You do it more than once, you get good at it, and that's where we come in, essentially.
That's where we come in. We have the consulting and managed service expertise, and we want to help you build these reports. I know we're getting short on time, but we want to encourage our clients or our potential clients to reach out to us. If you have any report needs or any work you need us to help build, definitely reach out to us. Just want to say thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more content.